Welcome back. We're here with Great Falls City Commissioner Joe McKenney, who's running for City of Great Falls Mayor. Now, Commissioner, I just want to get right into it right now. I mean, a hot button issue that's on the docket for a lot of our residents and registered voters here is the public safety levy. I mean, it is something that people are concerned about, both for it and against it because of taxes. I mean, you know, where do you stand on this need for fire safety and bolstering our courts?
Man, that's very critical. And let's look back at the past a little bit. The last time there was a bond for public safety was in 1969, and that was to build the 4 fire stations. There's never been a public safety levy that has passed, ever, never in this community. And so what we're looking at, back in the early 70s, we had 102 firefighters. Guess how many we have now? As of yesterday, 71. We've gone from 102 to 71, and that's just firefighters. On the other end of the spectrum is the police department. They're also woefully understaffed. So when it comes to the levy, we're way past due. We have 4 fire stations. We need 6. We're only asking for 1 more, and that's safety for our community. So talk about the cost, you brought that up.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's one of the big things here, Commissioner, is you know, taxes. I mean, we just passed the library levy. I mean, the property taxes have just been reappraised here, so that means they could either go up or they can fluctuate in whatever way depending on a person's home. I mean, in what way do you see that, you know, people's dollars are being stretched thinner, and how do we find our priorities, or you as mayor maybe point people in the right direction to find their priorities?
Sure, so let's talk about the priorities of the cost. So if the public safety levy fails, homeowners' property insurance is going up. Same for commercial property. It's going up. It's going up because our property is less safe. And that is already happening now. Homeowner insurance has gone up because of lack of safety. So what that means is we're going to pay for it one way or another. We're going to pay for it with higher taxes and we have a safe community, or we're going to pay for it by having an unsafe community and our insurance rates go up. My vote is for a safe community.
Definitely, and you know, you talked a little bit about that growing size and that population, and we've seen the deflation in terms of how many, you know, firefighters we do have right now, but that population continues to grow. We're getting new businesses. In what way, you know, for you as mayor, can you help promote economic growth in our community and create more economic diversity in our community?
So economic growth comes from primary sector jobs. A lot of folks think when a new restaurant comes into town, that's economic growth. No, that's not right. That's service sector growth. That's taking care of the people that are already here. So primary sector jobs drives growth. So what do I mean by primary sector jobs? Those are the jobs where a product or service is delivered here in town and it goes out of state or out of the community. So an example is Calumet. Calumet's primary sector. Avmax is primary sector. ADF, the steel plant, is primary sector. Ag is primary sector. That's how we grow the community, is by bringing in primary sector. The retail sector will take care of itself.
And with growing a community, Commissioner, I mean, we have to have affordable housing. I know there's development going to be going on in Malmstrom, major development. I mean, we've already, you know, there's lack of affordable housing. In what way, with that economic growth that you within that primary sector that you'd like to bring into our community, how can we provide housing for those workers?
Yeah, so housing comes with developers, right? The city doesn't build houses. The county doesn't build houses. The state doesn't build houses. Developers build houses. And developers can develop anywhere. They don't need us. We need them. So when they come to the city, we have to have a welcoming attitude. And when they have an idea, our first reaction has to be, how can we get to yes? Right? It might be difficult, but how can we get to yes? And that's the first step of working with developers.
We'll talk about development, but there's a little bit of underdevelopment in our community where we've seen a growing homeless population or unhoused population, not only in our community, but other communities across the state and the nation. In what ways, and with that comes, there's a mental health epidemic, there's misuse of drugs. It's just a population that it's a concern for some folks. And, you know, how can you as mayor address this concern in our community?
It's a big concern, so thank you for bringing that up. And you're right, you may remember about a year or so ago, we had the homeless camp downtown, and I was serving on the city commission, and at that time I was getting conflicting messages. We need to do this, we need to do that. And I finally figured out the only way to find out what's going on down at that camp was to go undercover. So I went undercover and I spent a day at that camp. I was an unidentified person. I was not dressed like this. I was dressed appropriately to be in a homeless camp. And let me tell you what I found out. There were about 65 people there, approximately. Around 60 were there because they thought it was fun. Believe it or not, 5 or so were truly homeless. And even some of the folks that were homeless had jobs. They didn't want to pay rent. They told me that. But what it really comes down to is when homelessness is real, okay? And the 5 that were downtown, there were more community-wide. They just didn't want to be at the camp. Homelessness is real. And a lot of it is addiction. A lot of it is mental health. And when someone raises their hand and says, I need help, I'm not talking about the 60 that were there for fun. The 5 that were truly needy. When they raise their hand, we can help. And I can tell you right now that community services are there, but they have to ask and know they're there. And they are informed.
Definitely. And lastly, here as we wrap things up, Commissioner, thanks for being here. Why should people vote for you for mayor?
You know, there's probably no one like me that runs for mayor, and I'm not talking personality-wise, I'm talking life experiences. It's very rare to get a lifelong entrepreneur to run for public service. We're too busy being entrepreneurs. So I have that mix of being a lifelong entrepreneur and being a public servant. And I think that mix will be very positive as mayor of Great Falls.
Thank you so much. Well, ballots go out in the next couple of weeks in the middle of October, and the election will be on November 7th at the Montana Expo Park. Maggie's going to have a full check of that forecast with me after the break. Thanks for being here, Commissioner. Good luck to you.